Hey there. I am so happy to be live here, everyone. Happy holidays. We are in the midst of our Christmas holidays right now are just wrapping up, and then we're starting with New Year's. It comes in a couple days, and I am just delighted to be teaching this class today. I'm teaching part 4 of the your 2026 business marketing plan. So let me take care of just a couple of things here. You are live. It says I'm live, but I don't see it everywhere. Let's see if I'm live on Facebook before I get started. Yes, here we go. Cool. Great. All right. Let's get started then. As I mentioned, this is part 4 of my year-end planning process I do every year with my clients. Although it doesn't matter what time of year you find this series, you can go through all of these questions. Sometimes I do this twice a year. It just helps keep me on track with my goals throughout the year. So today, part 4 is all about the personal fulfillment of your farm. And here's why. It's really easy to create a farm where you work really hard and you're hustling and you're overworking and maybe even you're overwhelmed. And then you maybe get to profit, but you're not happy because of that overwhelm, because of what you created. So the today's section, all the questions I'm going to ask you help you make sure that you're building a farm that you actually enjoy so that when you do get profitable, you're happy with what you created. I have a lot of farmers who go out of business and shut down because they might finally be making money, but they don't enjoy it at all because they didn't do this work ahead of time. They didn't know to do this work. So that's what we're going to take care of today is make sure that the farm you're building is a personally fulfilling farm so that you want the farm that you have at the end of your first year or 2 or 3 building it so that you don't just want to quit and give up. All right, a couple things I want to mention. I have a free training coming up called the Farm Marketing Fix. This is where I actually go live and review and offer feedback, really constructive, useful feedback on farmers' marketing, whether that's your website or your newsletters or your sales emails. I do it live and it will be recorded if you can't make it there live, but you will get the opportunity to submit a piece of marketing for review and maybe get selected to have it reviewed and edited so that it will bring you more sales. You can sign up for that at charlottemsmith.com/masterclass. The dates for that class are live January 19th and 20th. But like I said, it'll be recorded and sent out in a replay if you can't make it. I'm also doing a whole big event around it for 1 week. So it's I'm doing a pop-up Facebook group. So I will not only be doing those 2 live trainings, I will be going live in my Facebook group every single day, except on the 2 weekend days. And I'll be answering your questions. I will be teaching you concepts that are going to help you get more profitable in 2026. I will be taking a look at individuals marketing. You can raise your hand during my lives and ask questions. It's the first time I've actually done this for a whole week of free marketing feedback. So again, go to that same link, charlottemsmith.com/masterclass. You'll get the link to join the Facebook group as well. We open it up on January 15th. Okay, that's that. Now what I want you to do is pull out a sheet of notebook paper or come back to this, listen to the episode all the way through the first time, and then sit down with a notebook paper and actually answer these questions. Because you don't end up just by chance creating a profitable farm. You have to be intentional about it. And these questions I ask you today are what's going to help you do that. All right. So, personal fulfillment. This is, again, so important because many farmers get to a point where they've finally made their farm profitable, but they're not happy or fulfilled, and their families are not happy or fulfilled either. And they're thinking of quitting because it's so much work that they're just not enjoying. So just know this, that having a fulfilling farm is an intentional practice. You have to plan for it. It doesn't just happen by chance. So these questions I'm going to ask you today, you will want to take time to answer them. Listen all the way through now, maybe then come back and pause the podcast when I get to a question and take time to answer it. So let's get to the first question. The first one is, what did you enjoy doing this year on your farm? What did you love growing or raising? Or what did you love creating? What did you love working on? For instance, maybe you loved doing wedding flowers more than the farmer's market, or vice versa. Or maybe you loved raising the chickens. The pigs you could give or take, but you really loved the chickens. Or maybe you loved teaching classes way more than weeding the beds or milking the cows. Or maybe you loved marketing. Maybe you loved the marketing part of it and the financial part of it, but not moving irrigation pipe. See what I'm doing here? These are really important things to know. What did you actually enjoy doing on the farm? Now, knowing that, of course, we have to do some things that we don't enjoy every once in a while. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about what things did you love doing on the farm? Okay, the next question. What are you complete with on your farm? Or what is something you never want to do again? Okay, these are versions of the same question. I told you in the last episode about outgrowing our farm camp. That came from doing this exercise. I did the exercise and it was like, what am I complete with? I was complete with doing farm camp. Another one that I was complete with, didn't want to do anymore, is on my raw milk dairy. After I turned 50, I didn't want to be the one milking cows anymore. And at that point, I was still working a couple days a week milking, but I did this exercise and I knew that I was complete with milking. So after years of doing it, I hired and trained milkers and worked myself 100% out of the daily milking project. I oversaw every aspect of the rest of the farm, whether we were raising animals, rotating pastures, managing employees, all the marketing, all the customer service, including all the problems that come along with that. I was handling everything. I did that full time and I was just complete with going out in the barn and milking cows anymore or moving irrigation pipe when we were irrigating. I loved doing it at first, but at a certain point, I did not love moving 40-foot irrigation pipe across a field anymore. And I could pay someone to replace me doing that. The other thing this exercise helps you be aware of is as you age, the less able you'll be able to do the manual labor. So when you decide that you're complete with certain areas, you can change that. If you decide you're complete with hauling cows to the butcher, I was complete with that when a heifer jumped the gate at the butcher and there was a wild goose chase and nobody was there. I was alone. They couldn't be there that day. So they said, just drop her off when it's convenient for you. We won't be there. And I thought, what in the world am I doing this for? I was complete with that. So what are you complete with? I also want to make you aware. Are you aware that you can just decide not to do something because you don't want to? You have that freedom. You can say, I don't want to milk cows anymore just because I don't want to. Like, you don't need to explain or justify or have a good reason. What I don't want for you is I don't want you to be one of those people who keeps doing things and feeling miserable because you think you can't stop. You can. If you don't want to do something anymore, like I didn't want to milk cows anymore, I didn't want to teach farm camp anymore, you can just decide, I don't want to do that anymore because I don't want to do it. These are the things, believe it or not, that make your life fulfilling. Stop doing what you don't want to and start doing what you do want to. No judgment. What it requires here, though, is you got your prices to be sustainable. If you're not paying yourself a wage, of course, you can't pay someone else a wage to do the thing you don't want to do. So I have a free pricing course that my clients get in Farm Marketing Mastery, and they learn how to price their products for profit in a way that their customers do not leave, so that then you will have the money to start hiring people to do those things you no longer want to do. And this is really crucial for your long-term longevity and sustainability of the farm. Because if you keep doing the things you hate, you will give up the farm someday. I just know this because I've worked with now thousands of farmers over the last decade, 12 years, 13 years, and you eventually give up if you keep doing things you no longer enjoy doing. So we got to work you out of those things. And you do that by charging enough in a way that customers don't leave, which I teach you step by step, and replace yourself doing those things. All right. So the next step, step 7, if you're following along on all the parts, we're on step 7 of this farm marketing business plan. And this is the money questions. So what I want you to ask yourself is, what was your biggest moneymaker on the farm last year? Now, for me, it was always raw milk. It was the biggest moneymaker. But ask the follow-up question to that. What was your biggest moneymaker on your farm with the least amount of effort and the most profit? Okay. That is a different question, sometimes with a different answer. For me, my biggest moneymaker with the least effort and most profit was my cheese classes. Milk was the biggest moneymaker overall because we did it 365 days a year. And I only taught cheese classes a couple times a month for a few months through the winter. So cheese classes were big profit margin, but I did not do them 365 days a year like I did the milk. So I knew that what was helpful about that is if I had to make a bunch of money quickly, maybe something broke on the farm, I had to buy it, I needed a few $1,000s to replace my milking machine or my well or whatever, I could teach a cheese class. I could schedule a class or two and make enough money to take care of that. So just know that. What's your biggest moneymaker with the least amount of effort? And just know that they are useful for different purposes. You might have a really big moneymaker, but it's a lot of effort, like raw milk. So that's okay. That we use that differently than big moneymaker, least amount of effort. All right. So the other thing is, next question is, what was your least moneymaker? For me, it was always the lower price things like eggs, or I would sell some of the neighbor's jam. I sold another neighbor's honey. I sold some neighbor's wine. So small products were never big money makers. But you want a follow-up question to that. And was your least moneymaker beneficial in other ways? So for instance, our eggs didn't make much profit, but they did bring in customers from further away. I swear someone would drive an hour for a dozen eggs, but they wouldn't drive that same hour the very first time for milk or meat. But they would drive for the eggs and they'd fall in love with the milk and meat and buy them too. So was that least moneymaker beneficial in other ways? For me, the eggs, yes. The honey, the wine, the jam, no. So we stopped selling the other little things, but we kept the eggs because they brought in other customers that would in turn, buy other things that did make us a profit. The other thing that was not a huge moneymaker, but was beneficial in other ways was farm tours. So farm tours charge $40 a person. I'd limit it to 15 people. So that'd be about $600. Now, there was a lot of time that went into making that $600, which is not a lot of money. But because they were getting a tour and they were feeling really connected with us, and then we would end the tour in the farm store, then they would shop there and they'd spend another $50 or $100 or even $1,000 in meat and other products and become long-term customers. So they'd spend the initial $40 to sign up for the farm tour, and then another $500, and then they'd come back the next month and spend another $500. So the lifetime value of that customer that we got from the $40 farm tour was worth so much more. It was beneficial in such a bigger way than just the farm tour. So we kept doing those. And this series of questions is crucial. This series of questions is what helps you recognize those things that are beneficial in other ways or not. So if you're not making enough money, and it's not very beneficial, why are you still doing it? Let's stop doing it. All right. These questions will help you identify that. Okay. So now, next question is, what resources did you not have enough of? For instance, did you not have enough money? You might be laughing right now. Of course, we didn't have enough money. We have a farm. But know this, that farmers in Farm Marketing Mastery are learning how to make money. That's what they're there to learn. They're making money, and that becomes no longer true that they didn't have enough money. They soon have enough money to pay the bills, to hire help, and to start paying off larger investments or debt and get out of debt completely. So just know that there is a future. If you feel like you don't have enough money now, there is a future place where you can learn the skills to build a profitable farm and have money. So that's just one thing that if you were arguing that, of course, we don't have enough money, no farmer does, they do. When they learn the skills of how to make money and build profit, you can have a profitable farm. But what other resources did you not have enough of? Maybe you didn't have enough time. Maybe you didn't have enough people to help with farm work or the sales process when they're checking out at the farmer's market or in your store. Or maybe you didn't have enough of a certain product. Maybe the resource you have is you ran out of certain products. Whatever resource you didn't have enough of, write that down. These are challenges we can solve. If you're in Farm Marketing Mastery, bring this to a coaching call. We will get your resources built up in all those areas. It's really good to be well-resourced and have everything you need to run your farm and make it profitable. But you won't be aware of it if you don't take the time to answer these questions. That's why they're so important. Okay, here's another one I love asking. What did you want to do that you never got to do? Okay, so what was something you wanted to do in 2025 that you never got to do? And is that something you want to plan for in 2026? For instance, is there a class you wanted to teach? Did you want to take off the month of August and have a summer with your kids? Or is there something you wanted to raise on your farm that you never got to? So, what is it you wanted to do that you never got to do? Something that would make your farm life fulfilling. All right. This is something I have my clients work on. If there's something they wanted to do, but they never made it happen, they can raise their hand for coaching on that, and we'll figure out how to make that happen. Often there's a goal setting class I have, and it's included in my planner that you get when you join the program. The goal setting worksheets in there are super powerful. So if there's something you want that you never got to do and you run it through that goal setting process, guaranteed you'll be able to do that. You will figure out how to do that. We show you how to do that step by step. That's really exciting too. So I remember one of the things I wanted to do that I never got to do was, this went on for years. I wanted to take my daughter and our horses to the beach, to ride horses in the summer on the beach. And about 3 years of wanting to do that went by before I actually ran it through this questionnaire and was like, okay, I am not going another summer without taking my daughter and our horses to the beach so we can ride. And we did that. And then we started doing that every year. But it would not have happened if I hadn't sat down and actually asked myself, what was it I wanted to do that I never got to do? And what steps do I need to take now to make that happen next year? So ask yourself that. I'm sure you've got things like that too. All right, the next step is revenue projections by product. So what I want you to do, this takes a little more work. I'll explain it as best I can here. Create a piece of paper with 2 columns. So on the left side, I want you to list all the ways you make money in your business. For me, it was selling raw milk. It was cheese classes. It was farm tours. It was eggs. It was chicken. You're going to list all the products on the left side. And on the right-hand column, opposite each item you listed on the left side, write your sales projection for 2026 for that item. So if you're in Farm Marketing Mastery, I have the live video training. It's almost 2 hours where I show you this on a whiteboard, exactly how to lay these columns out. Plus you have the workbook there with the columns, left side, right side. So here's what yours might look like. Maybe you sell raw milk too. So on the left side, it says milk sales or milk. And on the right side, it has $100,000 if that's your projected sales for milk this year. Maybe you do a flour CSA, and your CSA you project to be $20,000. And then the next one is a farmer's market booth, and you project sales to be $50,000 at that booth. And maybe the third one is you do some flower buckets and you project $10,000 in flower sales of those buckets. So that hopefully this is making sense. You're going to list the items for sale on the left side and your projected sales on the right side. Then all those numbers on the right side that you listed out, you're going to add them up and notice, do they match the total number, your total projected sales that you chose in part one of this 4-part series? So back in part one, I said, what is your number of projected sales for the year? Let's just keep it even. Let's say your number for the year was $100,000. When you add up all these products and ways, things you're going to sell, does that match the number? Does it equal $100,000? If they don't match up, just notice the discrepancy. And what are you going to do? Where is the discrepancy? How are you going to fill in those gaps? So if you decided your sales goal for 2026 is $100,000, but you add up all those sales projections for each product and it's $80,000, there's a $20,000 difference. How are you going to make that up? Or where, this is something really crucial to be aware of. This is often the work we don't do. So we wake up at the end of the year and we didn't make our sales projections. We can't figure out why. Go back to this column. Which one of the products or areas in that column did you come out lower in or higher if it's a big difference that way? So this is what I do with my clients. Almost every farmer I meet needs to increase their prices. And they often haven't done that because they're afraid of losing customers. But I teach a process. It's a very specific process on how to raise prices without losing customers. So maybe you need to go through the marketing program again so you can do that and raise those prices to get those sales projections up. So if you're thinking, wow, I just can't sell any more than that because I don't have the manpower or the labor to raise that much of that product or produce that much, if you got your prices where they need to be, you will be able to do that. So just know that maybe your prices need to go up so that you can meet your overall goals. Okay. And then the very last question, I love this question the best in this business plan training. And that is, who do you have to become to reach your goals for 2026? So you're going to ask yourself, who do I have to become to have success in 2026? When I went through this years ago, a whole bunch of things came to mind. I knew that the very first thing I had to do to become a person who reached the goals I set for 2026 was to focus on one product. I was scattered between so many things, probably about 7 different products. I had raw milk. I was teaching classes. We were doing eggs. We were doing meat, chickens, pork, beef, and I had different other small items in our farm store. So I think of each product you're selling as a different business for various reasons that I go into in other podcast episodes. But if you think of it that way, I had about 7 different businesses going on my farm, not unlike many of you listening. So I knew that the person I had to become was a person who could focus on one product to get it profitable. You can't jump between all the 7 or 10 or more products and get them all profitable. That does not work. You have to focus on just one product and get it to success in order to build a profitable farm. And I knew that was who I had to become when I first started doing this exercise. It might take you a few years to narrow this down to that one product. That's okay. You might need to sell off all your chickens or all your pork or all your beef or whatever you decide you're no longer going to do because you're not profitable in any of the areas. The only way to get profitable in all the areas is focus on one. It might take you a minute to cut back in other areas, but you will be making more and more money, exponentially more money by focusing on the one thing. So maybe the person you need to become is better at time management. I've got the Master Your Time, Master Your Life time management course. That's going to change your life. Maybe you need to take it again. Maybe you took it, but it's all video. It's 9 video trainings. So what I recommend is listen to the 9 videos and then just start them over again make to just absorb and learn time management at a deeper level, and you will get better and better. So maybe that's a person you have to become in 2026 to reach this goal, is better at time management. Maybe you need to become more disciplined or more focused or more decisive or better at marketing. These are all things like, who do you have to become in 2026 to have the success on your farm that you want? I knew that years ago when I started, I first, like, it was around 2017, I did this and I was like, okay, to have the success I want to have in 2020, in the next year, it wasn't even the 2020s yet, I needed to stop having a glass of wine at night to unwind. I found myself doing, like, every night coming in and going, "Oh my gosh, it was so much work. What a big day. I'm exhausted. It was so stressful." I'd have a glass of wine, but it made me sluggish and tired, and I didn't have all the energy I needed. So I knew that in order to reach the dreams I had and the big goals I'd set for myself, I had to become a person who had who more discipline, and I stopped drinking wine at night, and I got more energy. I became more focused. I was able to reach all the other goals. So maybe there's one thing you need to become more disciplined at that will help you in every other area. What is that one thing? For me, it was when I stopped having a glass of wine every night, everything about my life and business changed. It was crazy, the identifying that one crucial thing for you, how big of a change that can have and how drastic of an effect it can be on your business and your life to make that one change. So what might that be? What do you Who do you have to become in 2026 to have your farm success? Maybe you have to become a person who knows how to get rid of guilt. Maybe you are doing so many things out of guilt and obligation. I coach a lot of farmers who are doing a lot out of guilt and obligation, and it's holding them back. So maybe that's who you have to become, a person who no longer just lives in reaction to guilt. Maybe you have to become a person who completes the tasks they commit to. Okay, everything in the time management course helps you become a person who follows through on your commitments. Maybe that's your next step for this year. Do you want to be more confident? Maybe that's who you have to become, much more confident person. I have a class in Farm Marketing Mastery called the Circle of Confidence. It's a 20-minute exercise. I tell my clients, like, do that every day for 30 days. You're going to have confidence like you never imagined possible. So maybe who you have to become in 2026 for your farm's success is a more confident person. We've got the resources to help you do that. And then the last question after that is, ask yourself, what is the first step I can take to become that person? The person you need to be to have success in 2026. What's the first step I can take? Please know all these resources are available to you. It is available to you to create and build a profitable farm. All the resources I've talked about in here that you might think you want to get more discipline, more confidence, raise your prices, more help, better help, all those resources are available for you to learn. Okay. It's not like magic. It's not that some farmers just have magic capabilities and they build profitable farms because they have access to resources you don't. You can create this. Some of my clients in Farm Marketing Mastery live in the poorest counties in the United States, and they're still building profitable farms. So I've had people say, I just can't build a profitable farm because I live in a poor area. It doesn't have to be that way. And my clients are proving it true. I want you to use them as an example of what's possible for you. It is possible for you to build a successful, profitable farm no matter where you live. The first step is just believing that's possible. Once you believe it's possible, then you start to see the skills you need to learn. You start to hear them in the podcast, like, oh, if I learn this and this and this, I will be able to do that too. But you got to believe it's possible first. Okay, so just as a final reflection, spend some time letting all these questions sink in from today and the other parts 1, 2, and 3. When you finished answering the questions I've had in this 4-part series, do you feel excited to start 2026? And if not, ask yourself why. Why am I not feeling excited to start 2026? Why am I not feeling really encouraged? What part of this plan doesn't excite you or is getting you down? If you're in my program, bring that to a coaching call. Let's clear that up. There's some thought in the way of you feeling really eager to get excited getting started for 2026. We will identify that in coaching. When we identify it, it's very easy to acknowledge it and just eliminate it. It just dissipates. The negative thoughts holding you back from being excited and eager to build a profitable farm in 2026 will dissipate when we can bring awareness to them. So let me coach you on that. And if you're not in the program, ask yourself, if you're not eager to start 2026, ask yourself, why am I not looking forward to this year on my farm? Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's something you were raising. Maybe it's a way you were selling. Maybe it's a particular customer or a particular family partner or family member. Again, these are things we coach on all the time. If you're not excited, let me help you identify what's in the way of that and clear that up, because we have all the resources you need to have a really successful 2026 on your farm is available to you. Let's turn it around. I want to help you clean things up. If it hasn't been easy to build a profitable farm so far, not that it's easy. It's simple in that we have all the resources available to you. The hard work comes in you implementing them. And I'm here to support you that through coaching. Just know that. So Farm Marketing Mastery will open up again in January. I'd love to have you in that program for a year. Let's get your farm profitable. Let's get it successful, but let's also get it sustainable. And what I mean by that is a farm that you enjoy, so it's fulfilling. That's what all these questions here today are going to help you with. All right. And if you're interested, like I said, I've got that free training, the Farm Marketing Fix. It's coming up on January 19th and 20th, and plus a week-long pop-up Facebook group where I will be going live every day, answering questions about farmers marketing, helping them, giving feedback, giving really constructive, useful feedback, helping them rewrite newsletters and sales emails and things like that. Would love to see you there. That class, you can sign up for it for free at charlottemsmith.com/masterclass. The Facebook group is opening on January 15th. So when you sign up for the masterclass, you will get an email on the 15th inviting you to request to join the group. And I start going live that very day. You're going to learn so much. And like I said, it's all free and it's all in preparation for Farm Marketing Mastery that opens the same week. People in there are just having more exciting successes than I've ever seen in the farming world, and would love to have you join us. All right. That's it. Thanks for being here today through this 4-part series. I'll link all 4 parts together so that you have them in one place. So you can just go through and revisit each section of the marketing plan for 2026 as you need. All right. Take care. And I hope to see you in our Farm Marketing Fix later this month. Bye-bye.